Proposition 12 establishes new standards for confinement of specified farm animals, bans sale of non-complying products, initiative statute. Plain language, require more space and freedom for farm animals. Background. Agriculture is a major industry in California. California farms produce more food such as fruit, vegetables, nuts, meat, and eggs than any other state. Californians also buy food produced in other states, including most of the eggs and pork that we eat. The California Department of Food and Agriculture, the CDFA, is responsible for promoting California agriculture and overseeing animal health and food safety. State law bans cruelty to animals. For over a century, the state has had laws banning the mistreatment of animals, including farm animals. For example, anyone who keeps an animal in an enclosed area is required to provide it with enough exercise area and give it access to shelter, food, and water. Depending on the specific violation of these requirements, a person could be found guilty of a misdemeanor or felony, either of which is punishable by a fine, imprisonment, or both. Farm animal practices are changing. There has been a growing public interest in the treatment of farm animals. In particular, concerns have been expressed about keeping farm animals in cages and crates. Partly in response to these concerns, various animals farming associations have developed guidelines and best practices to improve the care and handling of farm animals. Also in response to these concerns, many major grocery stores, restaurants, and other companies have announced that they are moving towards requiring that their food suppliers give farm animals more space to move around. For example, by only purchasing eggs from farmers who use cage-free housing for hens. Proposition 2 from 2008 created standards for housing certain farm animals. Proposition 2 generally prohibits California farmers from housing pregnant pigs, calves raised for veal, and egg-laying hens in cages or crates that do not allow them to turn around freely, lie down, stand up, or fully extend their limbs. Under Prop 2, anyone who violates this law is guilty of a misdemeanor. A state law passed after Prop 2 made it illegal for businesses in California to sell eggs that they know came from hens housed in ways that do not meet Prop 2 standards for egg-laying hens. This law applies to eggs from California or other states. Any person who violates this law is guilty of a misdemeanor. This law does not cover liquid eggs, which are egg yolks and whites that have been removed from their shells and processed for sale. Long story short, some animals are kept in small, cramped quarters. This proposition seeks to improve farm animal conditions. Do you have a passion for chickens, hens, calves, cows, deers, lambs, and all of the other beautiful animals of California? Please consider donating to The Daryl Johnson Show to ensure that you do not use these dollars to purchase and consume these beautiful animals. I will do it for you. That way you will be completely innocent of any harm done to these creatures. We appreciate your support and wish you the best in your endeavors. What does it do? There are details on how much space each kind of animal will receive and what year each one of the requirements will go into action, but I don't think these details are necessary to get into. What you need to know is that firstly, the law slowly, over the course of the next 4 years, requires that egg-laying hens, breeding pigs, and calves raised for veal be given more space to live. If you want details, I'll flash this graphic for you and you can pause and admire the work of the legislative analyst. Secondly, Prop 2 makes it illegal for businesses in California to knowingly sell eggs, including liquid eggs, or uncooked pork or veal that comes from animals housed in ways that do not meet the measure's requirement, even if the product came from out of state. This would not apply to foods that have egg, pork, or veal as an ingredient or topping, such as cookie dough or pizza. Violation of this would be a misdemeanor subject to fines. Fiscal impact. Prop 12 would result in an increase in prices for eggs, veal, and pork for obvious reasons, and this expense would most likely be passed on to the consumer. There is also a potential that farmers would not be able to produce the current supply of meat in the allowed timeline of Prop 12, thereby reducing the supply and causing even higher prices until solutions are adopted. The legislative analyst notes that many farmers were already leaning towards more spacious quarters for farm animals, so this increase in price may already have been impending. As far as the government goes, there may be a reduction in income revenue of several millions of dollars from decreased income that some farmers may face. Also, it could cost up to $10 million annually for the government to enforce this proposition. From Yes on Prop 12. Yes on Prop 12. Stop animal cruelty. The Humane Society of the United States, ASPCA, and nearly 500 California veterinarians endorse Prop 12. Voting yes prevents baby veal calves, mother pigs, and egg-laying hens from being crammed inside tiny cages for their entire lives. It's cruel to confine a baby calf in a tiny cage taken away from his mother shortly after birth. He's confined in an abusive way until he's sent to slaughter at just 4 months old. A mother pig shouldn't be locked in a tiny metal cage where she can barely move. She's trapped, forced to live in this small amount of space for nearly 4 years. It's wrong to cram a hen tightly in an overcrowded wire cage for her entire life. She's forced to eat, sleep, defecate, and lay eggs in the same small space every single day. Protect our families from food poisoning and factory farm pollution. In the past decade, there have been recalls of nearly 1 billion eggs from caged chickens because they carry deadly salmonella. Scientific studies repeatedly find that packing animals in tiny, filthy cages increases the risk of food poisoning. Even Poultry World, a leading egg industry publication, admitted salmonella thrives in caged housing. That's why the Center for Food Safety and National Consumer League both endorse yes on Prop 12. The American Public Health Association called for a moratorium on new animal confinement operations because they pollute the air and groundwater and diminish the quality of life for nearby homeowners. Help family farmers and grow California's economy. Mega factory farms that cage animals cut corners and drive family farmers out of business. By voting yes on Prop 12, we can create sensible standards that keep family farmers in business and allow them to grow. Since cage-free farms employ more workers, this measure would create more jobs for hardworking farming families. That's why California family farmers and the United Farm Workers endorse Prop 12. A common-sense reform, Prop 12 strengthens a decades-old animal cruelty law and provides ample phase-in time for producers to shift to cage-free practices. Some factory farms, including those opposing Prop 12, have found ways around the law and still confine animals in cages. That's exactly why we need Prop 12. Over 200 major food companies like Walmart, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, Safeway, and Dollar Tree have committed to using cage-free products. A dozen states have passed laws addressing the cruel caging of farm animals. The yes vote is endorsed by Catholic, Presbyterian, Episcopal, Methodist, Jewish, Evangelical, and Unitarian faith leaders and local animal shelters across California. We wouldn't force our dog or cat to live in a filthy, tiny cage for her whole life. We shouldn't allow any animal to endure such suffering either. All animals, including farm animals, deserve protection from cruelty and abuse. From No on Prop 12. The same group that said California hens would be cage-free by 2015, that Michael Vick would be a good pet owner, that embraces SeaWorld, and lost millions of dollars in a Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act lawsuit is back. Vote no. Prevent cruelty, cages, and fraud. The D.C.-based Humane Society of the United States, HSUS, is once again buying its way onto California's ballot, deceiving voters, flip-flopping on the issues of cages, and perpetuating the suffering of millions of egg-laying hens. Falsely promoted as a cage-free measure, Prop 12 in fact explicitly legalizes the continued use of egg factory cages for years to come. Proposition 12 would repeal the voter-enacted law in order to allow egg factories to provide each hen with just 1 square foot of cage or floor space. Prop 12 is a cruel betrayal of farm animals and California voters. Prop 12 is the result of a public relations alliance between HSUS and the egg industry's national trade association, United Egg Producers. At taxpayer expense, they are misusing California's initiative process in order to replace our current hen housing law with the guidelines of United Egg Producers. Due to the negligent drafting of 2008's Prop 2, millions of egg-laying hens still suffer in egg factory cages throughout California. Nevertheless, the egg-buying public has been told repeatedly that Prop 2 successfully banned those cages. For an entire decade, that has been HSUS's most cherished promotional claim. Now, without so much as passing mention that California was supposed to be cage-free by 2015, proponents are back with yet another side of a false premise, claiming that Prop 12 will regulate the practices of out-of-state pork and veal producers. No one should fall for that ploy. Only this time, they say Californians will have to wait until year 2022, and even that date is tentative. Proposition 12 was expressly written to allow the legislature to make changes at any time without the consent of voters. Even in the unlikely event that Proposition 12's constitutionally flawed provisions survive the inevitable years of legal challenges, the defense of which comes at taxpayer expense, Congress is already advancing legislation to render all such interstate regulations null and void. Prop 12 does nothing to help pigs or calves. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, Friends of Animals, the Humane Farming Association, Californians Against Cruelty, Cages and Fraud, and all others oppose Prop 12. HSUS attacks whistleblowers. We know when a charity fails the most basic obligations of trust. Instead of attacking women who suffered abuse, HSUS should change its own culture, says the National Organization of Women. When women mobilized against the toxic culture at HSUS, it stemmed from multiple allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct against Proposition 12's chief architect, now former CEO Wayne Pacelle. HSUS's first response was to question the women's integrity. That tactic is now being used against conscientious animal advocates opposing Prop 12. The inescapable reality is this. If not for HSUS's negligence, California hens would be cage-free at this very moment. Let's not fall for this same trick twice. Proposition 12 is the most confusing proposition for me. The reasons to vote yes on this are fairly obvious and understandable, but getting to the bottom of the no argument was less clear. So, first, I'm going to outright disregard the whole HSUS hates women claim because that's the kind of garbage we want to avoid here. I'm not saying that mistreating women, if that's what they did, is okay. I'm saying that this measure is about chickens, calves, and pigs, not women, and not HSUS's internal culture. I think their only real point is that we already voted to make California cage-free, so now if we pass this, we unwittingly extend the deadline that was already put in place by Prop 2 in 2008, and therefore we should just enforce Prop 2 as currently adopted. From this perspective, Prop 12 is basically pushing back a deadline that should already have been met. Part of me wants to vote yes to feel good about happy chickens and whatever. Part of me wants to vote no because we did already pass Prop 2 and I kind of want market pressure to push farmers to do the right thing. But part of me wants to vote yes again because these are animal lives and I actually do care about that. And while I am leaning toward yes, I really don't know. I just don't know at this point and need more time to reflect. I do want to highlight, however, though, that, again, this is not a binary situation. It's not a vote between allowing small cages or allowing freedom. It's more like a vote between passing this specific argument on animal caging or relying on current law that should be enforced, or allowing natural social pressure to manage the issue, or any number of other pressures that are already moving in this direction. If you vote yes on Prop 12, you are voting to override Prop 2 essentially and create a new timeline for the increase of space for hens, calves, and pigs. If you vote no on Prop 12, you are voting to leave things as they are. The Daryl Johnson Show says, I don't know on Prop 12.